and this is Practical and Healing Applications with Anna Kujawa. So we are gonna, well, since I already did the random number generator prayer, let's just jump right in and then have a longer meditation on the end, since we all want to do longer integration meditations but rarely have the time. So why don't we do that? All right, so where we're at today is in chapter 12. In the blue covered edition, it's chapter 12, section 8, 7 or 8. And in the blue covered edition, it's called The Condition of Reality. But if you have the complete and annotated edition of A Course in Miracles, then it is chapter 12, section... it's 8 in the annotated, 12... I'm sorry. I take all that back. Chapter 11. Chapter 11. Okay, so chapter 11 in either one of your books. And if you're in the blue covered edition, it's The Condition of Reality. And if you are in the annotated edition, it is section 8, and it's called The Real World.
Oh, number 7.
Yes. All right, now that we have that out of the way, yes.
3:26:18.
3:26:18. All right, beautiful. Okay, so and anybody watching, if you'd like to type that in, chapter 11, either section 7 or 8, depending on which book you have. And tonight we are talking about the real world. Okay, we're going to talk about the real world. What does, first of all, is there a real world, and what is the real world, and how do you experience that real world? Does it cost anything? Is it expensive? Is there an application you have to fill out? Is it far away? We're going to find out about the real world, right? And how you can experience. First thing we're going to talk about is the world as we see it. And it says the world as we see it cannot have been created by our Creator. The world as we see it cannot have been created by our Creator. Why? Because the world is not as you see it. Okay? The world is not as we see it. So the world as we see it, that wasn't God's idea. It wasn't God's idea to have sickness and lack and separateness and poverty and war and death and all that stuff that's so popular around here as we see it. Okay? So the real world, so the world as we see it wasn't created by God. First thing it wants us to know, and that the world isn't as we see it. God created only the eternal, and everything we see is perishable. That's how we know that God did not create the world as we see it. Okay? Because God's eternal, everything here is perishable. Therefore, there must be another world which you do not see. Oh, that's intriguing. There's another world going on right now that I don't see. How curious is that? How mysterious. There's another world that I don't see. And it says the Bible speaks of a new heaven and a new earth. Yet a new heaven and a new earth cannot be literally true. Why? Because the eternal are not recreated. Okay. So the new world, the other world, is not a new world. It's a world that's always been there. So there's another world we don't see, and this world's always been there. Now it's going to be new to us, right? Okay, but it ain't new in itself. So yes, we're going to experience a new heaven and a new earth, but that doesn't mean it's new. It just means we're only now perceiving it. Okay?
I feel so silly going, it's been there all along.
You mean I could have been here in the real world all this time? And I was doing what? Oh, we're a little tempted to maybe feel guilty. But the good news is that the real world has been there all along. Yes, it will seem new to you, but it's not new. Okay? And it's eternal. Wonderful. Then it says, but to perceive anew, to see the new world, the real world, is merely to perceive again. So to see the real world really just means now you're able to see again finally. That's all it means. And to see anew implies that before you were not perceiving at all. So that's all that's going to happen, is we will be able to see what we weren't able to see before. All of a sudden our eyes will be open and we'll see what's always been there. Okay? The real world. Okay? And the real world, Course of Miracles defines the word real as lasting and loving. So there's a lasting and a loving world that's here. It's always been here. We just never saw it. You know, and I would love to experience a real and lasting life. A world where it's loving and it doesn't die. It's loving and the loving doesn't end. It's abundant and the abundance doesn't end. That's the real world. Anybody down for that?
Mm-hmm.
A world that's only loving and the loving doesn't end? Sound good? Can you imagine? The real world is the only loving world.
That's a good time to roll.
It's like where all you experience is the loving, the lovable, the loved. That's all you experience in the real world. And you're not always worried that you're going to lose it, or that it will reject you, or that you could be abandoned by it, or that it could die. Doesn't that sound nice? In this world, there's so much sorrow because it seems like there's so much endings. There's so much loss. Right? It seems like, yeah, we've got some beginnings, but a lot of endings here. And in a world where the loving can end, you can't really trust the love or really fully enjoy the love without fear. It's hard to love when you're afraid that the one you love might leave, or that love might die, or that love might be rejected. Right? It's a little hard to really fully open your heart in a world like that. You know. So, beautiful. Just want to say welcome. Hi, Lynette. Lynette says real world is eternal love. Hi, Jeannie. Lovely to see you. Jeannie says happy Monday, beloved. All right. Now it says, what then is the world that awaits our perception when we see? Well, every loving thought that we ever had is eternal. Okay, stop on that for just a moment. Every loving thought we have ever had is eternal. It went on in creation. It didn't end. It didn't die just because that moment passed. So what is the world that awaits our perception when we see? Every loving thought we ever have is eternal. And those loving thoughts which our mind perceived in this world are this world's only reality. The only reality in this world, the one we see, is the loving thoughts we had. Very interesting, all right? And the loving thoughts we've had, they are perceptions because we still believe that we are separate, yet our loving thoughts, every loving thought we had, are eternal because our loving thoughts are loving. And being loving, our loving thoughts are like the Creator, which means we'll never die. Whew. Okay, so what's the world we're gonna see what's the world that awaits our perception when we see? Is gonna be a world, it's gonna be a life where is only populated with your loving thoughts. That's all that's gonna be going on in the real world. Is all you're gonna see is your loving thoughts. All you're going to be giving is loving thoughts. All you're going to be receiving is loving thoughts. All you're going to be having is loving thoughts, not fearful thoughts. It's just going to be a world that is made up of your loving thoughts. All of them. That's all it is. All you see is witnesses of your loving thoughts. Wow, look at that beautiful person. Wow, what a beautiful witness of my loving
Loving
thoughts.
thought just walked in.
I know, another one of my loving thoughts just walked in. And how do I know? Because every time I see him, it's loving. Okay. It says, we're talking about the real world tonight, Todd. How the world is how the world really is if you could see it. Okay. It's very mysterious, you know, it's that oh, there's a whole nother world around here that I just haven't seen yet. Oh, that piques my curiosity. I'm totally curious. Well, this other world that awaits your perception is a world that's populated by nothing but your loving thoughts. Okay? Because, now it says, and it says, paragraph 3. The real world, which means the only loving world, can actually be perceived. In this book, it's underlined. The real world can actually be seen. We're not just talking fantasy here. This isn't just make-believe. This isn't just, spiritual woo-woo. The real world, the only loving world, can actually be perceived. Well, how do we do that? How do we perceive that kind of world, that kind of life? Well, all that is necessary is a willingness to perceive, drum roll please, nothing else. Oh, I knew there was a catch. The only thing necessary for me to see the only loving world is that I would be willing, notice it said willing, it didn't say mastery, it said willingness to perceive nothing else. All right, well, what do you mean by that, course? How am I supposed to only see the loving, and nothing else? Because if you're perceiving or looking at both good and evil, you are accepting both the false and the true and making no distinctions between them.
Wow.
It's like, I want to see the world where all I see is good, all I see is beautiful, all I see is holy, all I see is the loving and the lovable, or called for love. All I see is love, okay? But the only way to see that is my willingness to not be looking at the other stuff, the opposite. It's like, I say I want to see the real world where it's only love, but I still look a lot. I still am looking at, the unloving, the so-called evil also. Like, they did what? Oh my God, look at that. They did what? That's terrible. I need to look more. Right? We're still looking for not only the love, we're still looking at also the ego and all the ego's machinations and what the ego's up to, and with a what's the word? with a ego delight. The ego
Appetite.
delights in disaster, you know.
Appetite.
Yeah, thank you. The ego has such a great appetite for disaster. It's like, oh my God, it's a train wreck, but I can't look away. Let me videotape it and put it on Facebook.
So I can look at it again.
Right, you know. And so this is telling us that there is a way of being in the world and only seeing the loving. This is a cause for love. Hey, love is also here. Hey, this person is only love. Hey, that's a call for love. Hey, this is a call for love. Oh, look what love did. Oh, look what love brought. Oh, let's see how love solves this. Can't wait. Okay, this is a way that even though we're in the world, we can be looking and watching only for the loving thoughts. Where's the loving thought here? What would love think here? How would love look at this? I wonder what love's going to do in this. I'm so curious. You know, it seems like such a disaster, like this is foolproof. But I know it ain't foolproof to love, so I can't wait to see what love does. Hey, love, be you in charge. Okay, so if you want to see the real world that's made up only of our loving thoughts, then there has to be a willingness to look at and look for nothing else. So now I'm only looking for the love. Whatever situation I'm in, whatever relationship I'm in, whatever going on, even though it looks really bad, where you're really tempted to go, this is bad. This is evil. This is bad. This is impossible. And still even looking only at the love and looking for only the love. Where's the love here? I see it's hidden, but I know it's here, so where is it? Out with it. Where's the love? Show yourself, love. Love, be you in charge. Okay? That's all that is necessary to perceive the real world. The only love world. Wow. Okay. Hey, Jean, lovely to see you. Hi, Patty. We were just talking about you, sweetie. And Bridget says, good to remember, Anna. Thank you. Okay. All right. So we just heard what it takes. And it says, because if you're looking at both the good and the evil, then what you're doing, if you're looking at them both, is you're accepting both the good and the ego, the false and the true, and making no distinction between them. If you're looking for the evil and the good, you're going to think that they're the same because you're looking at them. Whew. Yowza. Now, the ego sees some good in the world. The ego sees some loving in the world, but never only good, never only loving, right? The ego never sees only loving. It's like, well, you know, you got to be practical here. You can't just see only the loving. That's not real or practical. The ego will let you see some love, you know, like in a Hallmark card. Oh, that's so beautiful. But not only good, not only loving, you know. And we're being asked, we're being told that there is a way of looking at the world where we see only the good, the beautiful, the loving, the lovable, or the call for love, or the reality of love. No matter how deceiving the external appearances may be. Wow. It's like somewhere, somehow there's good here. Somehow there's love here, because love is everywhere. Love is everything. Love is all there really is. So that's how I know it's got to be here also. And I'm going to look for that. And then lo and behold, what do you see? You see the world that comes from love. All right. What'd you say?
The world that loved me.
The world you see, the world that love made. Exact, the real world. The world that love made is the real world. And everything else is the projected world. The world I want to see because I am somehow I've learned that to see evil and the bad is somehow helpful or will somehow be the right thing to do. Okay? Now, then it says, so the ego always sees some good, but never only good. And that's why the ego's perception is so variable. Now, the ego does not reject goodness entirely because this you couldn't accept. The ego knows that. So that's why the ego always adds something that is not real, not loving, to the loving, thus confusing the loving and the not loving. That's what the ego does. Because the ego doesn't want any goodness. Ego don't want any love. But it knows that if it only offered you just the bad, the fear, the anger, the unloving, that you would be like, well, no thank you. No thank you. I want the good. And so it offers you good. Here's some love, but then it adds fear and adds unloving to it. Okay. Oh, look how beautiful the loving is. Oh, that's so wonderful. And then it adds the fear to it. So that you'll go, oh, I guess both love and fear are real. And the Course is saying if you think both love and fear are real, then you will not be able to make any distinction between them. If you think both love and fear are both real, you won't be able to tell them apart because you've given them both reality. Isn't that deep? Whew.
It's a tough section.
Yeah.
Yeah. I know.
Well, this is consciously or unconsciously the same compromise we're making all the time.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. Right. Yeah, so it offers us, well, here's some love. Oh, look, isn't that beautiful love? And then it goes, yeah, but here's the fear that always goes with it. Here's the fear that's also real. Wow. Interesting. That's what the ego does to make us very confused about love and fear so we can't tell the difference. Well, thanks, ego. Now we know the ego's sneaky. Really sneaky. And that's how it works. And it says, because perceptions cannot be partly true. Because it can't be like partly loving and partly fearful. It can't be partly good and partly bad. Perceptions can't be partly true. You know, this is partly loving, but also partly unloving and bad. Wow. And if you believe in truth and illusion, if you believe in the love and the fear, then you cannot tell which one is true, if you think they're both true. Very interesting. So, Course in Miracles is teaching us how to only look for the loving, the good, the beautiful, holy, to only look for the love, trusting that it's there somewhere because supposedly it's everywhere and everything. And also the Course in Miracles is teaching us and training us how to make a distinction between love and fear, and to see fear as not real, and only the love as true, only the loving as true, and the not loving as not real, not true.
And if it wasn't true, you wouldn't be fearful of it.
Exactly. And this is how we have sight. We learn how to see. Remember, the real world is there if we were able to see it. Right now we don't know how to see, because we don't know how to see only love, because we're looking for something else. So we're being taught how to see only the real world, and that is when you perceive fear, to recognize that what you're seeing isn't true, it isn't real, it's an illusion. And just because your eyes are looking at it doesn't mean it's real, doesn't mean it's true. Our eyes were made to see what's not real and what's not true. That's what they were made for. And so we're learning to go, okay, even if what I'm seeing isn't loving, it isn't true, it isn't real, it's an illusion, it's a temptation. Now he's saying that is all that's necessary to see the only loving world, the world that love makes, the world that love creates. That's the world I want to experience. I want to go to the world that was 100% only made by love. So that's all you experience. That's all you get. That's all you find. That's all you experience. And I've heard about people sharing how they've been to the real world. I've heard stories and experiences of people who have experienced the real world. I've heard of other worlds that are loving worlds, the whole world, like we live here about in your rancho. I've heard of worlds.
Transfer world.
Yes.
What can I get a blank with?
Exactly.
Hello.
There are, not only is there the real world, there are other worlds that are loving worlds.
In advanced ways.
Yes. And what we call advanced. Advanced, that's advanced. And that's what we're moving toward. That's what we're moving toward. You wouldn't be interested in A Course in Miracles and studying A Course in Miracles if you weren't like, oh, remember last week, the forgotten song? Remember where it goes, now some part of you remembers the real world, It's like an ancient song, an ancient melody that you remember. Remember from last week? It's an ancient melody that you remember where you can't quite remember who you were listening to that song with, but your heart remembers. Your heart's like, I remember home. I remember home. It's like it's calling to me, home, home. So it is real. He said it's not. What did he say about that? The real world can actually be perceived. You can perceive and experience a world that's a loving world. Whew. Okay. Well, boy, is the world as I'm seeing it right now motivating me like nobody's business. Because the way that I've been seeing the world, what I've been looking for in the world, has filled me with terror and horror. I'm looking at it, I'm like, oh my God. Okay.
And they want you to think lack. You're
Yes.
This, you're lacking
Oh,
that,
absolutely.
because you can't
That's
afford- just push that.
that's part of the horror.
Easy
That's part of the feeling.
of that
The
lack.
way that I have been perceiving the world, what I've been looking for in the world. I've been looking for good, but I've also been looking for bad. I've also been looking for evil, meaning I've given it my interest. I've given it my time.
Expectation of fear.
Exactly, my expectation to see it. Exactly. Right? Not only looking for the loving in the situation, but looking for something else. Like, who's wrong?
I have not
Who's to
been
blame?
only vigilant for the truth.
I have not been only vigilant for the truth. Thank you very much. I have not only been vigilant for the truth. I haven't been only looking for the love. Where's the love here? Because I know it's here. Wow. Okay. Well, great, because this tells me exactly what I want to start doing. This is like, okay, this is what I want to start doing. I want to start only looking for the love. And notice how it said a willingness to see nothing else but the loving. A willingness. So I don't have to master it, but I'm willing. Like this situation right here, like let's just talk about what's going on with the Ukraine war, the economy, and all this. I am willing to see only love. Where's the love? Love, could you show me what you're doing here, where you're at here? I'm willing to see only the love, the good, the beautiful, the holy, the loving, the lovable, the call for love in this situation. I'm willing. And that's all I gotta do. I don't have to know how to see the loving in the Ukraine war. I don't have to know how to see only the loving in what's going on in our economy right now. I do not have to understand how to do that. If I did understand how to do it, I wouldn't need a Course in Miracles. All I have to do is be willing, have a willingness to see only the loving in this situation. Okay, I can do that. I can do that. I can have a willingness. You know, it's the desire that's the more difficult part. You know, do you desire to see only the loving here in this situation? Or do you want to kind of see some bad, you know, someone to blame, you know, an enemy, you know, to blame it on, so that you can get rid of some of those self-hate thoughts that you have for yourself that don't feel comfortable. You want to push them away. So, okay, beautiful. Hi, Trisha, lovely to see you. Hi, Nene, lovely to see you all. Okay, that was paragraph 3. Any questions or comments real quick before we go on? How about we take a breath? Okay, gotta breathe.
A couple of things you said, what is it, 4 or 5 years ago. I wrote them down and you said, if whatever you see dies, God didn't create it.
Uh-huh.
And always see a loving world and nothing else, and anything else is always just a call for love.
Oh, beautiful.
You said-
Okay.
you said that.
All right. I'd say that Julie is reading from her notes where I was doing this class 5 or 6 years ago, and she said that I said, if you're looking at something that dies, then what you're looking at is not real. And what you're looking at in the world, it's either love or call for love. It's either love
we've
or a
heard
call
that
for love,
before.
which means it's both love. You're bringing love to your perception, whether you go, that is love or that's a call for love. Because if it's a call for love, that means it is love. It just doesn't know it. It's calling for it. Now, if you see only the loving or the call for love, either love or call for love, then what does it say? It says that's all that's necessary to be able to see the real world. Okay, wonderful. How timely. How timely. Because right now the world seems like not just love. It seems like the biggest, fattest call for love I've ever experienced. All right. Now, then it says this, paragraph 4. To establish your personal autonomy, we tried to create unlike our Creator, believing that what we made to be capable of being unlike our Creator. That's what we did, okay? We were offered only a loving universe, and we were like, yeah, but I didn't make it. I want something I made myself. So to establish our personal autonomy. I'm my own person. We tried to create a world unlike God. You know, a world of death, it's not loving, it's full of lack, it's angry, it's sickness, all the things that are not like God. We tried to create a world full of those things unlike God so that we could make our own world. Thanks for this only loving universe, but I'd like to make my own world if you don't mind. Well, isn't that special? She wants to make her own world, that she made, so I can go, I made it.
I did it my
I
way.
did it myself. Well, look at what you made. Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, you did. You did make something all by yourself. Yes, indeed, that is true. How do you like that world that you made all by yourself? Well, it really hurts a lot of the time, and it's very expensive. Yes, we noticed. Wow. Just to establish our personal autonomy. You gave me love, but I want to do my own thing. I want something I made up. So I'm going to try to create an entire world of stuff that is unlike God. All right. Now it says, yet everything in what you have made that is true or loving is like God. So we tried to make a world that was unlike God, unloving, but everything that was loving in the world that we made is like God. Interesting. Well, that's good to hear that I did something like God. I did make something that is true and is like God. That's good to hear. I didn't only make a world of total unloving stuff. Okay, good to know. And the only thing, and that our loving thoughts in this world are like God. And only this world, only your loving thoughts are the real world. Only your loving thoughts. Only everything you've made in love is the real world. And seeing only the loving thoughts you made in this world, only that will lead you to the real heaven, which means lasting heaven, because it will make you capable of understanding the real heaven. That's an interesting term, the real heaven. Okay, we already heard about the fake heaven. That's where you go when you die, if you're being good enough and pleased a judgmental God. That's the fake heaven. And only some people get into it. Yeah. And you got to pay a lot of money, while you're here, some spiritual bribes to get into heaven. Right? That's the fake heaven. We're talking about the real heaven, which means a world of only the loving and the loving that lasts. Don't have to worry about that love ending. Don't have to worry about that love dying. Don't have to worry about that love rejecting you. Okay. What is the only thing that will bring us to the real heaven? What is that?
Perceiving the real world.
Thank you. Only perceiving the loving world. Only looking for the loving in the world. Only offering loving thoughts. Only offering loving thoughts. Only looking for the love. Only listening for the loving thoughts or the call for loving thoughts. That's the only way to reach the real heaven. Love that. Because only by listening for the loving thoughts and only giving loving thoughts and only looking for the loving thoughts, that will make you capable of understanding the real world, the real heaven. I'll only understand the real heaven, the real world, if I'm looking for it. If I'm looking for it. That's the only way I'm going to be capable of understanding it. If I want it. Wow. Only if I want the real, the loving world that is here, that it can be seen, will make me capable of understanding it. Very interesting. So I'll only understand it if I want it, if I'm looking for it, if I'm listening for it. And if I'm not looking for only the loving, then I'm not going to understand how only love can be real here. I'm just not going to understand that. That's going to seem too hard to believe and complex.
So this just reminded me of the beginning of last week's lesson. Projection makes perception.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm only projecting love, then I can perceive an only loving world.
Exactly. If I'm only projecting love, then I will only experience a loving world. Yes, beautiful. I just on the way over here had some temptation to be really stressed while I was driving Aria through rush hour traffic all across town. I mean, 3 hours solid in the car in rush hour. And there was this, like, it was looking like there was just no way in the physics of time that we were going to be able to make it to this class, that if she wasn't on time, they weren't going to let her in. And now I've just driven 3 hours across town in rush hour traffic, and knowing that if we're late, she will not get into this class. We just turn around. And Spirit said to me, Arya said, I sure hope they let me in. And I said, and if not, then let's remember there is no sin. And I literally heard in my mind, I am attacking no one, and so I need not expect attack anywhere. I am not attacking anyone, and so I need not expect attack anywhere. Whether she got into that class or not, whatever consequences happened, or she didn't, I have not given attack, and so I need not expect attack anywhere, even if she doesn't get in and blah, 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 blah. So, perception is projection. I will see the only loving world if I am only looking for the love, giving only love. And it's possible to do that.
Did she get in?
I was gonna say,
Did she get in?
No joke. She did. We were there 3 minutes late. And she said, if you're not, they say on the page, if you're not there at the moment, they won't let you in. And so 3 minutes passed, which is a freaking miracle. It should have been 30 minutes past what we just had to drive through. And so I just pulled over to the side, and then I said, I'll wait till I hear from you. And she goes, I'm in. And it was, and while we were driving, and I just kept having that temptation, ego's just wanting me to be tempted to be like afraid and angry and guilty and stressed and da-da-da-da-da-da. And I just said, Spirit, please be in charge of time here. Please be in charge of time. Please be in charge of the timing here. Please be in charge of the timing. Please take over time, like you said you would. All through the course, our teacher is saying, put me in charge of time. Put me in charge of the timing. And so I said, I put you in charge of the timing, and I also ask you to drive also. I ask you to drive the car, and I ask you to handle the timing. Wow. And each time I was started to get frustrated and it's going to be really, it's going to be, I heard the voice of my teacher said, oh, did you want to take back the timing? Oh, did you want to take back the driving? And I was like, no, I don't want to take back the driving.
Wow.
And then I was like, I put the timing and the driving back into your hands, be you in charge. And then relaxed, and Arya said, do you mind if I listen to music on my headphones? And I was like, no problem. And then I immediately hit play to listen to the Course in Miracles, which I wouldn't have listened to if she, was not had her earplugs in. And so anyway, and after I got that text from her, I went, thank you, Spirit. You are such a brilliant, loving genius. You really do what you say. You really do take over the unimportant details when I ask you to. Right? Why? So that I can see only the love, so that I can still feel only the love and see only the love and the good, even in a situation where it's like, high pressure, guilty, bad mother, nothing like bad mother guilt, So
So you ask Spirit to
drive for me.
take charge of time.
Mm-hmm.
Did you ask Spirit to fill up the tank?
I don't know if you heard that. Greg says you asked Spirit to take over the driving and the timing. Did you ask Spirit to fill up the tank also? No, I didn't, but that's why we have each other, baby.
All right.
That's why we need each other. Because you think of some things that I forget, and I think of something you forget. So, but I did, when I got in the car and realized, oh crap, every minute counts here, and I don't know if we're going to make it. I did look at the gas tank and thank God that you had filled it up. So I was very loving thought that you had filled up my car most recently. I was just like, oh God, thank God for Greg. Thank you, God for Greg. Greg would fill up my car. If it had been me, it'd probably be empty. So I was thanking God for that. All right. Okay, beautiful. Hi, Nancy. Hi, Peter. Lovely to see you all. Okay, it says, the perception of goodness is not knowledge, but the denial of the opposite of goodness enables you to perceive a condition in which opposites don't exist. So when you go, there's the loving and the lovable, there's the good, there's goodness right there. That's not knowledge, but it is it's not knowledge yet, it's still perception. But when you deny the opposite of goodness, yes, when you, it says, but the denial of the opposite of goodness, the denial of the unloving, enables you to perceive a condition or a world in which opposites don't exist. Now, how nice would that be? To be in a world where it's not good and bad, good and evil, love and hate, life and death. A world with no opposites, where it's only loving, it's only good, it's only life. That's it. The Course says the opposite of life is not death. The opposite of life is more life. Nice. So, and how do I do that? I deny the opposite of goodness. The interesting way of saying that you're not looking at or looking for the opposite of goodness, meaning you're not looking at it and going, this is bad, this is not good, this is bad, this is really bad. Okay, the denial of the opposite of goodness enables you to perceive a world where opposites don't exist, and experiencing a world that opposites don't exist, that is the condition of knowledge. That's when you know that you know. That's when you have knowledge. That's when you have not just right perception, but knowledge. The Course in Miracles says, first our perception is corrected. Corrected from looking for the ego, the bad, to only seeing the good, corrected perception, and then you go beyond corrected perception to knowledge, okay, which is not variable and it's certain. Now, it says, without this awareness of a world without opposites, or without this awareness, you have not met the real world's conditions. And until you do have this awareness of only love, then you won't know that the real world is yours already. All right, that's right. I don't know that I have that the real world is mine already. That's right. And the reason I don't know the real world is mine already, I can already hang out there now. I don't have to wait till I retire or die, is by looking only for the love.
Denying the opposite.
Denying the opposite of goodness. You know, just because this looks all crazy and dangerous and sinful and really wrong and dangerous doesn't mean that I can't see only the good. You know, I can deny the opposite of goodness anytime, in any situation, anything, you know, no matter how bad my ego wants to see it. No matter how bad my ego wants to see it. This bad. This is real bad. Oh, well, finally, Anna, you made a problem even God can't solve. I think you did it this time. This is the problem that you can't be corrected. This is bad. It's pretty bad, Anna. Yeah, I mean, you need to call. You may need to call a lawyer. You may have messed around and made one of those mistakes that really can't be fixed, Anna. I'm sure this is the one. Wow. And so this is saying, so to see a world where there are no opposites is to deny the opposite of goodness in what you're looking at right now. You know, don't see both good and bad. Don't see good and evil. Look for only the love, knowing that's the only true part. You know, the only true part, the only real part of the world as you see it is the part that you see with love, through love's eyes, as love, as a call for love, as a desire for love, as love who don't know their love. Okay. Very interesting. Okay, and then, so by denying the opposite of goodness, you'll realize that the real world is yours already. I already have it. I already have it. I already have it. Okay, good to know that I already have the real world, that it's here waiting for me. It's like knowing that, you have a new car ready for you when you want it, when you need it. It's like, I already have heaven. The real heaven is already here right now. I don't have to die to get there. I don't have to earn it. I don't have to wait for it. Okay? It's here right now. Good to know. It says, you have made many ideas which you have placed between yourself and your Creator. And these beliefs you put between you and God are the world as you see it. That's what the world is. Oh, all right. That's why the world's so crazy. That's why the world seems so dangerous and unloving, because it's made up of all my beliefs that I put between me and love, me and God. That's what the world's made up of. All the beliefs I made up and put between me and God, who is only love. That's where the world came from. That's what the world is. Which world? The world that I see. Not the real world, but the world I see. How I see the world is made up of my beliefs that I made up and put between me and God. These are my thoughts, God. You got your loving thoughts that you created. Well, I'm going to make my own. going to be independent. What did it say? I'm going to be autonomous. I'm going to be independent. I'll make my own thoughts. You made oneness and only love and everybody's one and there is no death and only love is real and no death. Well, that's nice. I'm going to make up my own. Okay. And that's the whole world that you see. Okay. That's taking responsibility for real, for the world as we're experiencing it, or for the situation as we're seeing it, or the life as we're seeing it. All right. Good to know where it's coming from. Because only when you know where the world as you're seeing it is coming from, can you change it and experience a whole nother kind of life, a whole nother kind of relationship, a whole nother kind of world. Beautiful. All right. Tricia says, I already have it. Okay, questions or comments before we go on to paragraph 5? Okay. Everybody take a breath.
So I guess, and a part of it is, from a practical standpoint, how do you, just by saying see only love, it just seems too fluffy and flowery, right?
But before you walked in, the instruction that we heard was the only thing necessary to see the real world is a willingness to only see the love. So it's not, I got to see only the love. It's, I am willing right now to see only the love in this situation or in the world. I'm willing. I want to. So, not I'm going to or I do, but I want to. I'm willing to.
Sure.
Okay.
Well, the great thing about this book, there's a lot of affirmations in this book that you can say. I've got a bunch of them memorized.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know that I'm, experiencing the real world day to day, but I've noticed over the years that there's a firm detachment off of really dumb ideas that I used to have.
Exactly.
How important things are.
Exactly. And your world is getting happier.
It is.
And I'm a witness to that. I see that your world is getting happier. So, your willingness to see only the loving in everything here has produced a world that has become more and more loving, more and more happy.
It becomes easier to see the loving.
Exactly.
Easier and easier.
Exactly. And that's, and I could say that too about our life. It's just like it is getting easier and easier and easier to see the good in everything. It is getting easier. It's getting more obvious. Now we're capable of understanding how to see the real world because we want to. It's becoming easier because of A Course in Miracles. Because of A Course in Miracles, Greg and I experience all kinds of stuff sometimes that, the ego is tempting us to go, this is bad. This is not good. And we both go, Spirit, how do you see this? What does this look like to you? Loving spirit, loving right mind, somehow, even if we can't see this is for our best interest, our loving interest.
This is helpful somehow.
Somehow this is helpful, even if we can't see it. There's nothing that the loving spirit can't transform into a win-win for everybody, right? And that's getting easier and easier to do. Easier and easier to do. So thanks for saying that, Todd. That's great. Okay.
Then the ego will come back with something the next day, even worse. Well, I wanted to see if you could see the love in this situation.
Yeah, that's exactly right. That's exactly right. Oh, let's see if you can see the good in this.
Well, that's an interesting point. I used to think a lot of times like, wait, if I get too spiritually advanced, some really bad crap's going to show up in my life.
Very good.
And how am I going to overcome that?
Very good.
My experience has been that that's not really happening.
Yes, right. Yeah. Yep.
got a ways to go yet, right? There could be some really
Yes.
bad stuff that's gonna come, but I'm saying that life does seem to be getting easier and easier, and the places that I still have unforgiveness patches, or I've hit my power, if you will, I still get reminded of that, and I still get
Yes.
tweaked with
Yes.
those situations, if that makes
Yes.
sense.
Course in Miracles says that all trials are but temptations. You know, and so all trials are but the ego tempting you to see something bad, see evil, see the unloving, and to see it as real. You know, it's a temptation. Every trial is a temptation to see the unloving and the evil and the bad as real.
So in here, he talks about, I went through the crucifixion so you don't have to.
Exactly.
So, you know,
Exactly.
'cause I used to joke about,
Yeah.
oh yeah, get all spiritual and then look what happens to you.
Yes, exactly. Yes, exactly.
You know, but I guess you have to take him at his word.
And then he's going, well, how about you interpret it like I interpret it, which is no matter what the ego tries to do to you, when you know the truth, it cannot hurt you. You know, that's his interpretation of that. You know, our interpretation is, look what happens to those who try to be only good and loving. Huh? That's going to be you. And I know that I still have that belief, like you mentioned, that perception, that belief that when things are getting more and more loving, easier and easier, that you have that belief pop up that says, oh my God, if I get too spiritual, if I wake up too much, then the ego is going to really try to kill me. You know, and I had that today. I mean, I literally had that thought today where I was having a thought that was so loving. It was so loving. It was having such a loving vision of the world that I had been seeing that I felt like I was having a panic attack. Like this cold chill of fear came over me, and I was like, you know, like I was having trouble breathing and feeling like I was having a panic attack because it was so loving that I, you know, that belief kicked in, or that belief was revealed. Oh no, I feel like I'm gonna die soon. This is so loving of a vision that, oh my God, I must be going to die soon. You know, and it was scary. It was scary. You know, Greg wasn't home, and I was like, I wish Greg was here. I wish Greg was here.
Yes, she prayed the Spirit about it, gave the fear to the Spirit, as we heard to do in our last class. And then she did some kind of prayer wishing that I was home. And without being texted or called, within minutes, I walked in the door.
I wasn't supposed to see him until that class. And I was like, I wish that Greg was here, but he's not. So Spirit, I give to you this intense anxiety, terror, panic attack that I'm feeling right now. Give you this fear. I give it to you. Help me, help me, help me. And literally, Greg walked through the door, and I was like, what? Yeah. And Spirit was like, now share that with Greg. And, you know, and as I shared it with Greg, Greg goes, I agree. You know, and so all of a sudden it wasn't just me who was having this supremely loving vision. You know, it wasn't just me. And so it's like, okay. Yeah. So thank you for being honest about that part of you that gets scared when you notice that it's getting more and more loving, happier and happier life. So beautiful. And thank you for what you said, Jerry, you know, that what the ego does. It's like, oh, you try to see the good in this. Now how the ego will come back around for temptation, to tempt you. And every time we go, okay, well, all right, well, there's got to be some love in here somewhere. There's got to be good here somewhere. And I'm willing to see it, even if I can't right now, I'm willing to. Then, then then your confidence gets even stronger. Your confidence gets even stronger. Your confidence that only the loving is true, that only the loving is real, gets even stronger. And the next time the ego tempts you and you go, I'm willing to see the love here, I'm willing to see only the love here, then your confidence and your ability gets even stronger. And then eventually you go pop and you're like, hey, I'm in an only loving world. And in a way we are almost there, because truly, I know I can say this for myself, and I'm guessing you guys can too. For the most part, you're receiving only love in your life. For the most part, you're not being attacked all day long. For the most part, you're not around people through the day who are unloving to you. Most of all, we're not around unloving people. Isn't that true? Isn't that true? It's rare now in our life where you meet someone who's really unloving to you. That's kind of a rarity now. It used to not be such a rarity. It used to be when you encountered somebody who was really loving, that was the rare thing. So we're definitely, closer than we think to the real world. So that's the good news. Good news. Here's some more good news. Truth is not absent here. Yay! But truth is obscure. It's hidden. Or we could say, the loving is not absent here, but the love is hidden here. You do not know the difference between what you have made, the fear, and what God created, the love. And so you do not know the difference between what you have made and what you have created. I don't know the difference between the fear I've created and the love I've created. I'm sorry, I'm going to say that again. I don't know the difference between what I've made, my fear, and the love that I've created. To believe that you can perceive the real world is to believe that you can know yourself. That's the same thing. I can perceive the real world. I can know myself. Same thing. It says you can know God. You know why? Because it's God's will to be known. God wants to be known. And if God wants you to be known, you can know God. Okay. The real world is all that the loving Spirit has saved for you out of what you have made. I'm going to say that again. The real world is all that the loving Spirit has saved for you out of what you have made. And seeing only the loving that Holy Spirit has saved for you, only this, that is salvation, that is liberation, that is freedom. Because that is the recognition that reality is only what is true, that reality is only what is loving. Wow, that is so beautiful. So the real world is all of our loving thoughts that we forgot that the loving Spirit within us saved for us. So it's a whole world made up of our loving thoughts. Every time I ever extended a loving thought, every time I ever had a loving thought, that loving thought was saved for me, and then that's all that peoples the real world. Just made up of all my loving thoughts. Love I gave, love I received, love I welcomed, love I invited. Wow, isn't that beautiful? Isn't that beautiful? I love it. And isn't it good to know that every loving thought you ever had or gave or received isn't lost to time?
Oh, yeah.
It's not lost to time. It's like, oh well, that was all for nothing. You know how we like after we get out of a relationship for many years, we're like, that was a waste of time. Not if you were loving, not if you were giving and receiving love. Okay, it's never a waste if you were giving and receiving love. Okay, if there was any love there, given and received, it wasn't a waste. It was preserved for you, saved for you, and is waiting for you to give you back the love you gave it. Beautiful. Wow. And so, and what is that? He says that that liberation and liberation, freedom, happiness, the real world, is the awareness that the only thing that has reality is what is loving. The only thing that has any reality, the only thing that is true in this world, in the whole wide world, is the loving parts. That which is loving, the loving thoughts. That's the only thing that's true. That's the only thing that has reality. And everything else is just a projection, a hallucination, an optical illusion, and a call for love. Wow. So, so beautiful. So, to make this very practical, if you're in a situation or a relationship right now, or a planet right now, where there seems to be a lot of evil, a lot of bad, a lot, and to the point where you're wondering who is really in charge of this planet, something evil or something good. I mean, I wonder that all the time. I'm like, sure seems like this is the ego's got this world, like, got it in its pocket, got it in the bag. It sure seems like this is the ego's world, that this world is ruled by something evil. Anybody ever had that perception when you're looking at the world, looking at the news?
Yep.
And so, or just in a situation where kind of looks unloving, it looks like it's bad going on. That what we're being taught to do is to look at that situation, look at that relationship, and say to yourself, the only thing that's true right here is what's loving. And any unloving thought I'm having, any unloving thought they're having, any unloving thing that seems to be happening, it is not happening. It's not really happening. It's not real, and it's definitely not true. It's not the truth about me. It's not the truth about them. It's not the truth about the world. It's not true. The only thing that's true in this situation is the loving parts. And saying that is your willingness to perceive the only loving world, which is here to see. Just saying that is my expression of willingness. And then that's all it takes to see the only loving world, where I was seeing an evil world, a world ruled by the evil force, which the evil thing that does kind of seem like it's more powerful than love on planet Earth. But just that willingness to see that, and the willingness to say to myself, Only the loving here is the truth about this situation and them and me. You know, it shows it to me. Wow, amazing. That's the practical application. So macro application to the world, and also any situation in which you feel like what you're seeing is definitely not good, the opposite of goodness. Okay, you practice it in the micro level and watch the transformation happens, where you go from one world called hell to another world called the real world, the loving world, where all you're experiencing is giving and receiving of love. Okay, so questions, thoughts, yes, buts. Hi, Daniel, lovely to see you. Lynette is sending her peace to all her mighty companions here in the room. Thank you, Lynette. We accept. Your grace is given us, Lynette. We accept it. That's our lesson today.
If you're gonna end in meditation, yeah, are you?
Oh my goodness, thank you. Wow, thank you very much. Mm-mm-mm. Thank you very much. All right, I love it. We're not going to do the next paragraph, but I love the next line. It says, "This is a very simple course."
Well, that's actually the beginning of the next section in the blue book, so.
Oh, is it?
we're-
Yes.
So we're actually completed vis-a-vis the way
Oh,
this is
isn't that
formatted.
interesting? In the blue covered edition, that's the end of that section. Amazing.
You did it.
Amazing. I did a whole section. Wow. I must be entering the real world, a new world.
Spirit's still in charge of time from that prayer.
Thank you. Spirit is still in charge of timing as I asked it to be. That was so hilarious. When I started getting frustrated and anxious, I heard the Spirit go, did you want to take back over the driving? Did you want to take back over the timing? I mean, I'll give it back if you want me to. And I'm like, no. That was just my ego. That was no.
I like that you said you didn't, before you got there, you said, well, whatever happens, I'm not gonna project out any attack thoughts on the
Yes.
situation. I'm
Yes.
not gonna blame myself, anything, just kinda, this is what my lesson is, maybe.
Yes,
We don't
exactly.
make it, we don't.
Exactly.
But you did a lot of good work getting
Yes.
there too, that was really interesting.
Yeah.
We could remember that. about our-
It was, and now I look at it and I see only good, because it was such a beautiful experience for me and Arya to share together. You know, where I could demonstrate only seeing the loving, instead of like, well, why didn't you tell me? Why did you tell? Blah, 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 you know, looking for the unloving, you know, defending myself or looking to blame her that we were late or the traffic or whatever. And so we, you know, and I kept saying to her, all right, I'm putting Spirit in charge of the timing. Spirit, you know, you be the driver. And so she got to have that experience of miraculously getting there on time, and the whole ride having heard me say out loud, Spirit, I put you in charge of the timing. I put you in charge of the driving. So she got to see a miracle and how to have one, even in a situation where, you know, where it appears to be not good.
Are you here next week?
Mhm.
Or you
Yes, I am.
you won't be moving, so you'll be here Monday.
Yes, I'll be always here even after I move.
Oh, I mean,
Yes. Yeah. All right, sweetie. Wonderful to see you. Love you.
Thanks.
All right, you guys. So announcements are between Greg and I, we do 3 Course in Miracles classes a week on Sundays and Tuesdays on Facebook, and maybe possibly in person somewhere, 7 p.m. Transforming Relationships Through A Course in Miracles, where we take these ideas and we apply them to our relationship in front of all you. Okay, it's like a front row seat, you know, or how can they apply the course to that? That's what that class is. It's really good. So that's Sunday and Tuesdays on Facebook, 7 p.m. Mountain Daylight Time, and like this class, Mondays at 7 p.m. live in person at the Rocky Mountain Miracle Center, and also on Facebook as well. If you would like to make a financial contribution of appreciation to our Miracles Ministry, you can do that through Venmo, PayPal, and Zelle with just my email, which is annakujawa1@gmail.com. And thank you so much for supporting our Miracles Ministry. All right, so now we're going to do our integration meditation where we take the ideas and we're going to use them. We're going to use these profoundly transformative and practical ideas of how to experience the real world, the real heaven, no matter what kind of hell you've made for yourself. So just take a breath and bring your awareness inward. Drawing your awareness inward to your real self that is only love. So let us remember first that our real self, let's look inside for our real self, which is our only loving and lovable self. The truth is that you were created as only loving and lovable. And this is how you must learn to think of yourself in your heart. And others. Now I want you to bring to your awareness a situation or a relationship or an event that your ego has been tempting you to see it as bad or evil. Or maybe a situation where your ego allows you to see a little good but some more bad. And I want you to bring that situation, event, or relationship into your awareness. And saying to your divine, loving mind, your loving right mind, saying to your loving right mind, higher self, I am willing to see only love, only the loving here. Only the love I gave, only the love I received, the call for love, the hidden love, the desire for love, the presence of love. I'm willing to see only the loving here. I'm willing to see what's really true and real in this situation, relationship, or event. I'm willing to see this situation, relationship, or event through your loving eyes, through your only loving eyes, Spirit, higher self. I'm willing. Show me. And then see the real world. What does the real world look like? What does this situation, relationship, or event look like now? And how do you feel about this situation, relationship, or event now? And now say to yourself, I want to see the only loving situation here. I want to see the only loving relationship here. I want to see the only love world where it's all about love. I want to experience the real heaven, the lasting happy life. And remember, when you are saying this prayer, when you are expressing this willingness, this is a prayer that cannot go unanswered. You will receive what you are requesting now. Thank you, Spirit. Thank you, Teacher. Thank you, Spirit. Thank you, God. And to that we say, Amen. All right. When you're ready, take a breath and bring your awareness back to your body, back to this place. Beautiful. Beautiful. Way to love yourselves. Way to save the world. Way to save the world. Way to fulfill your function. Good job. This is how we do it. I appreciate you guys more than I can say. Thank you for joining this healing circle. Thank you for supporting this miracles ministry, and thank you for helping these ideas to move out into the world more thoroughly and more quickly. I appreciate you all, and I'll see you next class. Oh, thank you.